Have anything planned? Okay, to all my audience of 5 people who all know Shenghan actually.
We have internet strangers.
We do have internet strangers, but this is Shenghan for the internet strangers, and she is a filmmaker and a classmate. So Shenghan here made a really cool dog feature, we could say, full documentary about food, just food
Food, identity, belonging.
in Taiwan. Yeah, and she actually really inspired me through it, and she put a lot of. She made it really personal, and that actually changed my perspective on documentary completely. And you also edit a lot of your sauce. What's your process? No,
I honestly don't know.
right?
I feel like it's all like figuring it out. But like sometimes you just. I remember some of the effects. I just get inspired by watching other people. Like the opening the folder, I think I saw someone else do it for like a different context. But then like sometimes it clicks with me, and then like it stay with me. That's how that communicates a feeling. I don't like it when it's just like plain narration. Maybe 'cause just how I feel now, but I really like more experimental approaches to film because I like don't have fancy camera equipment. I can't be experimental in the filming process, then I be experimental in the editing process. Like how do you make everyday things feel like take on more meanings? And then I think I wasn't editing for a while, and I was like on the train and going to like the Lake District, and I was reading Stay True, and then he also talks a lot about memory and stuff. And then just suddenly like there's just like sometimes you think about it but you don't think about it for a while, and then it comes to you like those ideas, a lot of different ideas just pop into your head, like, oh, I can do this, and then you try it. Sometimes it doesn't work, sometimes works.
I think there's a lot of value in like leaving the work and like letting it be, and like it's very difficult to do that in academic setting or like in setting when there is a deadline, or like to actually allow for that. But I think for a creative process it's so important to like just not touch the work for some time, and like to just let like almost give little significance to it, because I don't know about you, but I feel like I go down a rabbit hole and I like think that it defines me almost, and like this is the only thing that I will ever create or something. Like I don't know, I get very focused on it, and then when I like leave it out and like live my life and don't think as intensely, things come somehow, like ideas come more naturally, and like they flow as if when there is less tension in your focus, it's easier to get that inspiration, that like source, muse, whatever, I don't know, to like come your way. You said that it's important for you to translate a feeling, right, through experimentation. And why else do you think you don't like simple narration? Like, why do you think it's not enough?
I mean, maybe it's wrong to say simple narration, or like I don't like when I watch something and I feel like they didn't, like whoever made the like film didn't think enough about the medium itself. Or like they kind of just follow a formula. Like a lot of documentaries you see, they like don't like talking heads sing, but then like why?
Yeah.
Like, why do you tell this story this way?
Yeah.
Why not the other way? Why? Like I think I find it a little bit disrespectful
To the
to
audience.
the audience, like wasting their time like this.
And it's also like I think there are a lot of like things that work, like formulas, like they kind of have been figured out through like whatever
Yeah.
century of filmmaking, and like a lot of films just follow that. But yeah, I guess that takes away. I feel like that takes away from the process of filmmaker themselves. Like it takes away from their chance for growth and like experimentation or trial.
Yeah, it's also fun to like
It is.
see why. I don't know why you like films more than other mediums, but I feel like it just there are a lot of things that I like watching films can capture for me, like something that I feel, or some realization that only comes when like watching films because like,
Yeah.
all your senses are more attacked.
Yeah, especially in the movie.
Yeah.
Yeah. It always feels like a dream to me. I even wrote an assignment for Fiorelli once that like, oh, watching a movie is like being like watching a dream. Something with Freud, I don't know. I also think like emotion is so not linear. And like it's I've been finding words less and less effective in communicating. Like this is kind of, for most of us, this is the closest we can get to understanding each other and the closest we can get to like communicating whatever we mean, but they limit our expression so much. And also I'm not good with words, and English is not like my first language, and like for many people it's that way. For example, if English is the chosen medium of communication in a film, but I don't know, it's very limiting. And I feel like this like experimental ways and like alternative ways are the only routes maybe for us potentially to understand each other sometimes, or to translate a feeling.
That's why like when people ask me about my names or like other things I made short films about, I'm like, I can't explain, just go watch the film.
Yeah, it's like respecting the audience and also giving them right for interpretation, right? Like not spoon feeding them with the meaning that you're trying to choose. I think that's also the great thing about art, because also like as much as we want to communicate this feeling, I feel like we cannot, this is out of our control. We can only try, and however the reader is going to interpret it is kind of like dependent on them, on the circumstances they're watching it in, like on their preconceived notion and stuff like that.
I think that's also like maybe different levels of your process. Like
Yeah.
I feel like my first level is always, I have so many things I wanna like tell people. I need them to know this.
Yeah.
And I dump them and like in paper or write them down. But then that's not the thing like that's shown at the end. Like that's not the film.
Yeah.
Like I feel like that's like the easy version.
Yeah.
You have to like go deeper of like, why I want to tell this.
Yeah.
Like, what makes I the person who can best tell this, and how do I tell this?
Yeah. In your short doc, My Name, which I'm gonna link, and the doc about food, do you find any of the outcomes surprising that you didn't expect? That kind of like you just allowed it to go the way it goes, and it turned out very different from what you expected,
I mean, I never know what the film gonna turn out to be like.
You have no expectations.
No expectations.
That's beautiful.
It's all like figuring it out along the way. And I feel like I hear a lot of interviews with filmmakers that like the movie you have in your head is not the movie that you're gonna make.
Oh, that's so
you're
true.
never gonna make that movie.
Yeah.
Like you just have to. if you know exactly what it is, you've already made it. You haven't made it because there are things you haven't figured out. So you need to like allow things to come up in the process.
Chance, like.
Yeah, but then if you never like, I think a lot of times I get stuck in it looks perfect in my head.
Yeah.
So I don't want to take it out.
Yes. And like more often than not, when I try something in real life, like it turns much worse than it was in my head, or like not worse necessarily, but different. Like communicates very differently, or looks very differently. And I think it's almost sometimes very hard to let go of the idea of it, of this perfection. And
it's like having a crush.
Okay, let's unpack that. What does that mean? Having a crush, like it's in your head, right? But when you start interacting with them, they're real people. Censored.
Yeah, I think I see it also in my boyfriend. Like he also has like images in his head when he's working as a cinematographer, but he doesn't know if it's gonna actually, when they shoot, if it's gonna look like that. And then that's why he always gets so super happy when like it looks close to what he has in his head, but it's never like the same.
Life gets in the way, huh? Or like natural things. And also I do believe that some of the best creative decisions come out of chance.
Yeah.
Like the Bay Bridge or the Golden Gate Bridge, how apparently the fact that it's read, we read in the book yesterday, that it was a chance or like it was a whatever, which is a great creative decision. And but I think that also a really hard part for me is like those like chance things that happen, or like all the little experiments that you play and like experiments that you make throughout the process, which ones of them to keep and which ones to not. Because sometimes it's like, I don't know, you're like, sometimes it's really hard to let go of a certain part because you enjoyed the process, but frankly it doesn't fit, like it doesn't fit into the whole narration of the work, and like, or like it doesn't fit, you know, like it just stands out. But then you like really enjoyed making it, you're really proud of it, or like spend a lot of time making it. Did you have experiences like that?
Not yet.
Not
I
yet.
haven't had to like distribute my films. But you can like have director's cut.
That's so true. 4 hours, you're gonna watch every single thing.
That's why I always like to ask, like, when you go to Q&A with filmmakers, like, what did you leave out of the film that you really liked? And like, when we watched The Last Year of Darkness, they were like, oh, there was a beautiful scene with the main character and their grandpa that they filmed,
right.
but then it doesn't make sense in the bigger narration. You put it in the credits. When the credits roll, you can put that.
Yeah. That's true. That's true.
That's where I
bloopers. Do you think the primary reason why you create is for self-expression?
I feel like I create because it's boring.
Otherwise?
But I hear that in so, like, I don't know. I feel like sometimes I think, oh, artists, they have like other bigger reasons why they create, but a lot of times they're just like, well, you gotta fill the hours with something. Everything else is boring.
I also like, I kind of do believe when you have other motives, like, oh, make the world better, or like tell the stories of this impoverished group, tell the stories of people who cannot tell their stories themselves. It's like not authentic to what you actually want to create. Like, this like more intellectual part of the process, I think. It's like us intellectualizing why art, because to the large degree, like, art is not appreciated, and most like parents and most authorities or like institutions do not value it as, deem it important. But so like I think it's like a way of many artists to like justify why they're doing it, but like at the end of the day it's a selfish act. Yeah. At the end of the day I think it's a selfish act, and it also just depends on like what drives you to it. And like better work, I don't know if it's true, at least for me, I think better work comes from when I just felt, you know, calling. I don't know, when it wasn't forced from any external kind of motives.
Yeah. Journey of self-discovery.
Yeah.
But do you feel like you always create from calling?
No. No. I mean, calling, boredom also goes there, I think, like in the calling. Yeah, boredom, I guess. No, I think I very often, or more often, create from desire to prove myself, maybe, or like, I don't even know, to appear a certain way in front of like other artists, or to prove that I'm worth something as an artist, as a filmmaker, as someone. Like, I think I have a lot of ulterior motives, right? That's what they call ulterior motives.
No, they're motives.
Yeah, they're motives, just like external, I guess, motives about being approved by like other people, or proving to someone that what I'm doing is legit, like worth the time, that I'm pursuing something right, to my family too. I don't know.
But do you enjoy it? Like, when, like, is there a difference when you're like?
It's a really good question.
Different motives.
I think very often it's actually mixed. I think it's very mixed, and it changes throughout the process. Like, I might start something because I want to just impress someone, like, but then in the process I start enjoying it, or I find different motives, or like I talk to someone and I'm like, wow, I actually really like talking to you, and I want to tell your story, like I want to include you in this documentary or whatever. and it kind of changes. But then like closer to editing, I think I get back sometimes into that like impressing, desire to impress mode, because like you see the result and you're like, how are people going to perceive it? So I think it actually changes and shifts throughout most of the projects inside. Yeah. And like at the end of the day, I think most projects just end up being, the goal is just to finish it. For me, we were just like actually talking yesterday about.
So true.
Yeah, just to finish it. Just like the goal is like already not to do anything, but there's just like this cognitive dissonance, I guess, or like discomfort of having unfinished work. You know, just like having something hanging. For me, it's very uncomfortable, and I told you, I'm trying to fight that a little bit by allowing myself to be in the space of not finished work and to play with it. But I guess there's like a balance, you know.
Yes. You gotta also finish.
You gotta finish. Yeah, it's hard. How about you? What are your motivations? Boredom, you said? Or is it always boredom?
Not like boredom, but like I feel like I need a lot of stimulations.
So true.
And I feel like filming, like saying that I'm making a film can bring me to do a lot of things that like outside of my comfort zone, like outside other people's comfort zone, but it's like it's for film, so you do it. And then but also I like talking with people or like meeting people because of film. And like, or just like I think like this summer I was filming my mom, and when I'm filming versus when I'm not, I don't know, it's like this feeling of, oh, I have a project.
Yeah.
Then everything becomes meaningful. Like just like sitting on the couch with my mom becomes meaningful because I'm filming it.
Yeah.
I mean, it's already meaningful too.
Yeah.
But then I feel like seeing it as a project makes me appreciate everything that is a part of it. Like, oh, if I feel bored, if I feel happy, if I feel sad, uncomfortable, like first it's like, oh, I feel this, and then I'm like, oh, this is good. Putting it
It's material. Yeah, I think it's very helpful. I think there's a certain level of detachment, like from
third perspective too.
Even now the camera is here, like even if it's not a film, but it's like just an interview. I already feel like it's a different level. Like it's a different reality. The reality changes. Whatever. Remember, we read an essay also about it, like how camera is like a mediator. It like brings a different.
Oh.
Like it brings
true.
It's like it changes. It's like another person. It's like another agent in the system that changes the whole dynamic of anything that is happening. And it's like inherently always a performance still in front of the camera. Like it's very rare that people still become completely unaware of cameras. They can, but like still I think there's like a little bit, you know. So yeah, I don't know. And that's really nice. And I think it's also about seeing things for me very often, like, and I become more appreciative of things, like the light, for example, or like, oh, this moment looks like really beautiful, like your hands, like, and whenever I have that camera, I start focusing on the beauty more, I think.
You're more present.
More present, yeah, weirdly. They also I want to tell that about the thing that you said about talking to people and getting you out of your comfort zone. I actually really liked when you guys talked about it with Diba. They also made a really cool documentary about diaspora food in London, which has changed my life. It was fantastic. They went to they're like neighborhoods, different like ethnic neighborhoods, I guess, or like supermarkets, places, and they talked to people from their respective countries of origin and motherlands, and asked them to take them for dinner, and they did go to dinner to two families and just filmed the process, and it was incredibly interesting. And they had both of them had beautiful reflections on the process, because they also took a class on migration and like the whole complexity that comes with being an immigrant and stuff. So where do you see your art or your process going? What would be ideal for you, or what you would want to work on or change, or what is next basically for you as a filmmaker?
always try new things. I feel there's so many different things you can do with film, but I also feel like I don't want to be limited by this idea. I'm a filmmaker,
Yeah.
and then I don't think about other things. Like maybe the thing in life is like to become a nurse. I don't know.
So true.
Really?
Very likely, but
I'm
no,
being
true.
like putting myself in the box of like, I want to like work and survive as a filmmaker.
Yeah.
But obviously that would be nice, but I also still think you can like change lane, and yeah, I want to try like different ways of making film and like fiction too, not just documentary.
Real and fiction. I'm waiting for that script. I'm waiting for that script. But I actually really agree with this like box of a filmmaker. I think it's. At first, I think it was very liberating for me to call myself a filmmaker, especially as a woman, and being like, have the courage to be like, I'm a filmmaker. Wow, I'm a filmmaker. Like, it's exciting. It's exciting to have a label, but I think at some point it really becomes limiting.
Yeah,
and
you become trapped.
you become really trapped in it. And like, I think as an artist, there's like so much to other media, like to start with, like on the lower level, other mediums to explore. And I think being a filmmaker or like sticking to one medium generally is kind of feels very limiting to the process, to the practice. It's like same way how like you get stuck on the idea of the project that we were talking about, like the idea of what the project is going to be. Maybe we get stuck on the idea of who we are going to be or what kind of filmmakers we're going to be. And the truth of the matter is that we cannot figure that out by just thinking or like deciding. I feel like it's only like process and trial and error.
But it's same as being queer.
Yeah.
You're not shown like, there are other ways.
Yeah.
Of being like, you can be many things. You can be like, yeah, because I think it's easier to see films in life than like see other like mixed media or like whatever, like artists that try different things, like combine different things. And I see like some artists who are doing like different things, like they're not just like, they're doing exhibition and they're doing films and then they're doing like painting and then they have like, and then they're like doing embroidery, whatever. Then I feel like they're actually being very true to how they feel.
And what they're called to do, or like what there feels natural to them. Also, I've noticed that a lot of artists, I think, are community organizers. Like I think because you have like many artists have this like deep sensitivity towards just like everything. I feel like people are more conscious of like societal issues and needs, and people become like community organizers in different ways, both like for other artists and just for like people in general. And I feel like being open to that and being like receptive to that and like seeing that you don't have to be defined or like limited by your medium is very liberating too. But it's hard. It's like hard to like get off those shackles and to be in this uncertainty again, to like not have the label attached to yourself, because it's very disorienting.
Yeah, because if you're like focused on one medium, then there are like, I don't know, benchmarks that you can look to. Like, you win Oscar or whatever. Like, or you get this grant. Then like maybe you're doing well, or like, because you never know, like with art, am I doing well or not? And
only you can tell at the end of the day. I think only you can tell if it's the greatest work you could have done, or like the truest work you could have done at that moment in time too. Or like it's very hard. I don't know. It's very hard for me to be without those external benchmarks or validations. It's a really good point. And to like whatever, figure your own path and walk it step by step instead of thinking that there is a way. And I usually tend to look around and like see what's around me and try to follow other people and what they're doing. And sometimes that is useful and helpful to see again representation and to see the options. I think at the end of the day, it's kind of have to make these decisions ourselves, not just like as artists or filmmakers, but as people.
Yes, life is fun.